This is a day long in coming, and I've been looking forward to this for a while for a lot of reasons. There are lots of people to thank. I just want to say, you know, this project is New Bedford at its best. Really is in so many ways. So first of all, let me just say, of any court in Greater New Bedford or all of southeastern Mass that needed to be fixed, it was this one. Or set of courts, not just because it's they were in disrepair. They know if you've been out here anytime recently, anytime in the last few years, you knew it. There was a big bubble under that hoop that if you dribble a ball, it would kick it in another direction. There are cracks, there are weeds, you know, the bleachers are rusted up. Things needed to get done. So there were a handful of folks who said a couple of years ago, well, how do we get this thing done? And Tom Tarpey was one of them from the start. We talked about this like 3 years ago. And there are others who gathered around and made it happen, who pushed this thing along. So there are a lot of people to thank, and I'll go through the major people, and I hope I don't miss anybody. But there are two things that really stand out to me. First is it got done, but it got done here, which this set of courts is really the mecca of basketball in southeastern Massachusetts. I look around the crowd, and I know at least half the people, if not more, played here as a kid. I played pickup games here. My father played pickup games on these courts. If you've grown up in anywhere near within a 30-mile radius of this court, you played basketball, you played it here. So this is going to be now an opportunity for kids to make their own memories for the next few generations, and that's fantastic. It strengthens community. It's basketballs. This is a basketball town. We love the game here, and this gives us all the more reason to be stronger in the years ahead. So this is fantastic in that way. The other way, to my mind, is that it looks good. There weren't corners cut. You know, we are trying all throughout the city to make the city look better. The appearance of the place matters. The appearance of our public spaces matter. We put a lot of thought and effort into the downtown, into Custom House Square, and making a world-class place. We're doing the same thing on the waterfront. We're doing the same thing in the south end with the bike paths and the beaches and with Fort Tabor. We're doing the same thing in the north end around Brookline Park. We're doing it all over the place because we want people in New Bedford to like being in the place. If you like your physical surroundings, the built environment, you will take care of the place. You will want to live there, and businesses will want to invest there, and that's what this is about. High standards were applied here, and high standards were met. This isn't just tar laid down across an open field. These are real basketball courts. The best backboards in the world. Where are you, Eric Brito?
Two bounds.
In a great setting. It's not done. There's going to be landscaping. It's going to look really sharp, as it should. The thing that excites me the most about this project, however, is how the team came together. One of the things as mayor that I try to cultivate is a spirit of not just teamwork but initiative. For a long time, there have been folks in the city, and we all know who they are. We've encountered them who will look to city government or state government and say, can you fix this? Can you do this? Can you solve our problems? And that's appropriate to an extent. But there are lots of challenges out there that are beyond the reach of government. Or they're problems that government should just be playing a supporting role, but that the real initiative should come from citizens themselves, people who would be emotionally invested in the project and who are connected to their community and can make sure that it succeeds. And that's what we had here. This is an example of how a group of people who saw a better future came together and made it happen. They knew that the city just couldn't sprinkle money on this project. This part of the city is not eligible for community development block grants like a lot of other parts of the city are. So we couldn't just throw money at it. We built other courts in the city with CDBG funds. We couldn't do it here. So that didn't deter folks. We went forward with it and we figured it out together. And I say we, believe me, so the city government for sure played an important role here, but I'm not up here to take credit. I am here to praise. And I'm here to praise folks. I'm here to praise the folks you see here, and too many in the crowd to name. So people like, first of all, the Friends of Buttonwood Park. They stepped up, you know, and the Friends have been a great steward of the park. When you think about the Friends of Buttonwood Park, you think about the tree plantings, the arboretum, the landscaping around the park. You don't tend to think about the basketball courts, but they treat the whole park as theirs. They took this project seriously. They saw that this is an integral part of the park, an important asset for the community, and they went after it, and they deserve tremendous credit. And you're going to hear from Ann Eads, the president of the Friends, in a second. But Ann and Jean Bennett and Richard Leary in particular, but all the Friends who really deserve tremendous credit for making it happen. Tom Tarpley, as I said, was a huge proponent from the start. He wanted to see this thing improve. He wanted kids in the city to have an opportunity to play in a great facility. Tom deserves tremendous credit for moving it ahead. He's given up with basketball. He's not the coach anymore, so you know he's got to do something in his spare time. Pete Boswell, the park board, big role. Mary Raposa, our Parks and Recreation director. South Coast Hospitals Group, Bill Burns was a big part of this from the start. Very important to Bill to move along, brought in a lot of other folks. Jerry Kavanaugh, who's not here today, was a huge financial contributor to the project. Eddie Rodricks helped out. I mean, Peter Brito, of course, is always involved in these types of efforts. Too many people to name, and if I leave you out, it's not because you don't deserve the credit. It's just because we don't want to. Nobody wants to listen to me for an hour up here. But the reality is that we did make it happen. All of us make it happen. On the city side, the Department of Public Infrastructure, of course, as I said, Parks and Recreation, Ron LaBelle, Zebaruda, and the whole gang, Richie Correa, took great care in laying down the surface here. There are a number of corporate sponsors, and we'll lay those out for you. But more than anything else, and Kerry Winterson will speak on behalf of the City Council, and Naomi Carney is here, another huge supporter, another Ward 5 resident. This is something to be proud of. And I will introduce Ann in a second. There's a job ahead right now, and that is, and I'm directing it to the guys in red right now because they're here, but it goes to everybody else who's playing here and everybody else who will play here. And that is, you guys are the stewards of this place. Tremendous effort and sweat and money went into this. It's up to you guys and everybody you see playing out here to take care of it. So nobody should even think about putting a graffiti tag anywhere near this place. You know, if you see someone throwing trash on the ground, tell them to pick it up. Too much work went into this. We've got to take care of it. This is our children's job to go after it, to take care of this place, and that's the way you pay us back. Nobody's going to ask you for a nickel to pay for the work that was done here. Just say thanks to the people who worked on it and take good care of it, and this is something we can all be proud of. Thanks, everybody. This is really a terrific opportunity for our kids in the years ahead. And with all that, let me introduce the folks who deserve the most credit, and that's the Friends of the Park, and I'll introduce Ann Eads to say a few words. Ann.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Mitchell. I want to thank all of you, too, and the mayor's done a good job of naming you. In my old age, I've forgotten all your names. But anyway, thank you for coming. I'm I'm the president of the Friends of Buttonwood Park, and along with Jean Bennett and Richard Leary, co-chair of our Buttonwood on the Move campaign. I'm delighted to welcome you to today's ribbon-cutting ceremony. It celebrates the opening of these brand new Buttonwood Park basketball courts. Buttonwood Park in New Bedford, Mass. is the largest and most heavily used park. The Friends of Buttonwood Park is a non-profit, all-volunteer organization formed in 1988 to help protect, maintain, and improve this park. 3 years ago, the Friends launched an initiative called Buttonwood on the Move, a major fundraising campaign and fitness initiative which aims to improve the active recreational facilities and encourage physical play and exercise in the park, especially among children and youth for whom the rates of obesity and diabetes are skyrocketing. We chose the Buttonwood Park basketball courts as our first Buttonwood on the Move project. Because of their central location, they are the most heavily used courts in New Bedford. However, they hadn't been updated in over 30 years. Today, as we cut the ribbon and toss up the first ball I guess we're not tossing up the first ball, on these fantastic new courts, we are celebrating among friends and donors who share our vision and have stepped up to make this project come true. It has required leadership, foresight, collaboration, careful planning, and philanthropy. On which subject, Jean Bennett, our development chair extraordinaire, or as I like to think of her, miracle worker, would like to share some thoughts. Jean?
Thank you. There's already been so many thoughts. The only thing I want to do is I want to tell you that without the help of the first people who came forward, gave us the biggest shot in the arm, Bay Coast Bank, after we had sent them a letter, within a month they called us and said they were in for $15,000. We were flabbergasted. We sent out an appeal to our members and friends, and within a month we got $12,000. With people sending in $25, $50, $100. So at that point we had almost $30,000. And within another few weeks, South Coast Hospital called and said they loved our project, which was thinking about people's health and how obesity and diabetes is more prevalent in New Bedford than any other place in the Commonwealth. We said we need to have a new focus, and that focus was going to be Buttonwood on the Move. And you're going to hear about that for the next 3 years, because this project was a 5-year project. The first was to build Buttonwood Park basketball courts. Now, the other people who helped bring that money to us were the city and their bituminous contractors, both Landers and Keating. Without their help and their coming in and filling in the gap, we would not be standing here on these beautiful courts. So I do want you to know, while the Friends of Buttonwood Park raised $97,000, these courts cost much more, like in the vicinity of $160,000 to $170,000. And without the city's help, we could never have done it. And then the other people who were so very important was the Henry Crapo Foundation, Acushnet Foundation, Grimshaw Goodwitz Island Foundation, and Down to Earth Foods. Where are you, Down to Earth? Buttonwood on the Move. Thank you. Those were the major contributors. However, the Friends also had a wonderful party in March called March Madness, and that party raised about $16,000. So again, that was just grassroots and people in the city who came to bat. Thanks. That's it.
Okay. In closing, on behalf of the Friends of Buttonwood Park, I want to extend our heartfelt thanks to all the generous donors and friends far and wide and introduce you to Richard Leary, retired electronics engineer, Naval Underseas Warfare Center in Newport, and our invaluable project manager on site, without whose expertise on all things basketball court construction, Jean and I would have had a much rougher row to hoe. Richard?
Well, thanks very much, Ann, and thank you everyone for being here. It's really a wonderful day. Wow, can't believe it's happening. But then again, I can. We've been involved in this from day one. I moved up near the park when I was a little kid. It was actually 1953, and since junior high school, when I started to play basketball, I spent a lot of time on these courts. And one thing I have a great love of these courts, and I just wanted to mention a few names because these were people when I was growing up. I looked up to some of these people. Some were my contemporaries, and a few of them came after me. But all those influenced me. They really, these courts contain their spirit, and I hope they look. Some of them are not with us anymore. Some of them are alive and kicking and still playing basketball. But I just wanted to mention a few names. Manny Coster, of course, Dickie Duart, Marty and Mark Tredup, Tommy Baroa, Jimmy Lammers, Dave Thuray of Oliveira. Mike Grant is here today. We're talking about legends. We're talking about all-stars. We're talking about basketball junkies. I mean, this place was for everybody. Everybody got to mix and mingle, learn and teach. The Donahue brothers, the Walsh brothers, the Gomes family, Jake and all of his brothers. Certainly I see in the crowd Coach Eddie Rodericks, Brian Baptiste, Tom Tarpey, countless others. And like I said, I hope they look approvingly on what we've accomplished today. Our distinguished mayor, he from day one, he has been a solid, firm, enthusiastic, an essential supporter of this project. And I just want to thank him personally. And I also want to recognize him as a basketball player. He's a pretty good basketball player himself, too. So that may have something to do with his support of this project. And one other person I'd like to recognize before I go into a list, and I'll try to make it as brief as possible, but these people really contributed a great deal, as much as I did, to this project. And I need to recognize them. But my co-chair is a member of the design committee for the courts on the Friends of Buttonwood Park, an old friend of mine. He's a retired science teacher. He started, when he moved into the city in 1970, he started playing with me. We had a lot of fierce battles on these courts. Frank Farrell. Frank, would you raise your hand? The park board. Let me first recognize the park board. Whenever I go before the park board now, they kind of look and they say, "More trees, Mr. Leary? You want to cut down more trees?" Yeah. But in actuality, most of the trees that we had to cut down, some were dead, some were dying, some were a hazard to the players, and we tried to minimize the amount of trees that had to be cut down. And fortunately, over the last 10 years, the Friends has planted on the order of 250 trees. So that helped me when I went before the board and asked for a few to be cut down. But certainly, the whole board, and especially Chairman Peter Boswell, they have a great responsibility in seeing to it that the parks are maintained for the people of New Bedford. And Chairman Boswell and the whole board did their best to expedite our appearances and business before the board. And they were really true and great partners with us and everyone else in this project. Also, Mary Raposa and the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Beaches. Mary has done a fantastic job in helping us to develop these projects. Also, Ross Moran, who is no longer with the department. He's now with the Trustees of Reservations, I believe, and he did a great deal to get the community involved in reviewing our early concepts of the courts. So we thank Ross and Mary a great deal. The Department of Public Infrastructure. It's amazing to me how well run this city is with respect to, the water, the the waste treatment, the electricity, the roads. It's a 24/7, 365 day job. But having come to know the commissioner, Ron LaBelle, of the Department of Public Works and his people, it is not a surprise to me that they can do the things that they do. And it was the Department of Public Works that really took us into, or really made us realize that we could do this. And so Ron LaBelle, I want to recognize him, the Commissioner of the Department of Public Works, his most able deputy, Zeb Aruda. Zeb, I don't know if Ron is here today.
Zeb's here.
But Zeb, if you could raise your hand. You know, their enthusiasm and support, you know, their engineering expertise, it's just incredible. And another member of the Department of Public Infrastructure, Stephanie Dupras, who is the project coordinator and the engineer. Stephanie, if you could raise your hand. I'll just refer to my notes here. She has done an amazing job in doing the engineering on this project, the project management, and the marshaling of all the resources that were necessary to make this thing happen. And she deserves as much credit as anyone for these courts being here today and looking the way they are and as well built as they are. So, Stephanie, we really appreciate the job that you've done on these courts, and Ron and Zeb. And also, let me mention Richard Correa. The electrical department did an amazing job of running conduits and the lighting and getting the poles set up. I also want to mention former Commissioner Larry Warden, who helped us at the beginning before he retired on this project. We really appreciate Larry's efforts in helping us and to expedite the project. And also Kevin Amaral. Kevin, are you here today?
Yep.
If you could raise your hand. Kevin was also extremely helpful on this project. And Kevin, I will never forget you and Larry demonstrating how to pick up a manhole cover with one finger. That was one of the things I will never forget about this project. The Office of Housing and Community Development. One of the first agencies we dealt with when we were embarking on this project was the Office of Housing and Community Development, and their director is Pat Sullivan, and the project manager for that department is Richard Bruce. And when we first started this project, there were a lot of things we just didn't know or appreciate about how to do a project of this size, and they really helped to ask the right questions, identify what questions we had to address, what issues. And Richard Bruce, I mean, he's a person who's just, his experience and understanding of all things related to the city, projects large and small, he really helped me all along with the many and various questions I had for the duration of this project, and he helped, you know, keep this project on track and to help the Friends understand how to effectively work with and utilize the resources of the city. So Richard, if you could raise your hand. I sent him hundreds of emails and he always promptly responded, and he was just indispensable. Steve Burgo of the Burgo Basketball Association, they have the tremendous complex in Dartmouth. Steve did not view us as a competitor, but he viewed this as a complementary effort because he's interested in basketball for the kids of Greater New Bedford and Dartmouth and the whole area. And he was a big help to us from the start. So thank you very much, Steve. Steve, if you could raise your hand, please. Medium Studio graphic designers, John and Kerry Cox did a great deal for us. Catherine Duff. Catherine, if you could raise your hand. At an early stage in this process, Catherine is the director of Studio to Sustain, a graphic design outfit in New Bedford. And at an early stage, she did an artist conception of what these courts would look like. And that artist conception was something that was indispensable to us in letting the community know that this was being planned and what it would look like, and it helped to get people really excited about this project. Chris Farland and Jay Lanigan of Thompson Farland Engineers. They came in, their great contribution was the surveying and initial site plan. They turned our PowerPoint drawings into real engineering drawings and plans, and that formed the engineering foundation for the further work that was done on these courts. And so I really want to thank, Chris and Jay and all of Thompson Farland for the great work that they did, not to mention their financial contributions. And also Greater New Bedford Voc Tech, Guy Shepard, coordinator of Arts Communication and Computer Services, and Nancy Ford, teacher in that department, and Autumn Sear, student. The sign that we have at the top of Union Street, which has also served to really make people aware of this project, was the result of a design project competition within this Greater New Bedford Voc Tech class, and this young student, Autumn Sear, designed this wonderful and very clever sign. So thank you so much, Greater New Bedford Voc Tech. Our goal was not here to spend, we didn't have endless money, we had to economize. We weren't out to build the Taj Mahal, but we wanted to build, as the mayor said, a first class and well-constructed facility. And we were really fortunate in having uniformly excellent contractors to work on this project. And I just want to recognize them, because they just didn't come in and do the job, get paid, and go home. They really developed a real partnership and desire to see these courts run well, and almost all of them, understanding the financial challenges that we face, gave significant concessions and considerations. So certainly PA Landers and PJ Keating. PA Landers has what's called the bituminous contract. They're the main contractors for all the asphalt work in the city. And for this job, acting as a subcontractor, PJ Keating, they did the asphalt. It's a tremendous job. It's a challenging job, and they really did it right. We can't thank them enough. True Bounce Incorporated, the manufacturers of the basketball hoop systems. Eric Brito, Wayne Newton, if you can raise your hands, please. Thank you so much. And it was their idea to color the poles to coordinate with the basketball courts, which I think is a tremendous touch. J.G. Coffey of Bristol, Rhode Island, tennis and basketball court specialists, and Neil Feely, their owner. They were down here for about a 7-day stretch. And I think God must love basketball, or at least New Bedford basketball. For all those 7 days, it was important that we not have rain. And we had no rain. It was just ideal conditions for them to do their thing, and we thank them. It was a real pleasure having them down here. Two more, Bell Traffic Signal of Weymouth. They typically do traffic signal lights, but they also do other kinds of lights. They dug the foundations, the deep foundations for these large lights that we have here, and it was a real pleasure working with them. So we thank them very much. Musco Corporation and their representative, Andy Dijak, who did the lights. And finally, the New England Recreation Group, Chuck Ramondo, for help with the benches and bleachers. As far as the media is concerned, Jack Spillane, journalist for the Standard Times, with a wonderful front page article publicizing these courts. That helped a great deal. WBSM's Phil Paleologos, who had Gene and I on his show to help get the word out. David Reese, tennis partner of mine, host of WUMD's Jazz Time and Bebop and Beyond. He had us on his program to promote the March Madness event. And Councilwoman Deborah Coelho. Councilwoman, are you here? The Councilwoman is a marvelous promoter of our city with her community cable access program, and we can't thank her enough for her support of this project. And finally, my good friend and former colleague at the Naval Underwater Systems Center, Tom Luriano, who last week brought his quadcopter down here and flew it around and got marvelous flyover footage of the courts from this quadcopter flying around. So thank you so much, Tom, and you can go on YouTube and find this video. It's kind of cool. Last two groups, the stakeholders. Scott Lang, distinguished former mayor of the city, was a great supporter of this project from the outset, and he helped us a great deal, and certainly in the financial sector. Eddie Rodericks, I don't know if Eddie remembers. Eddie, can you raise your hand? Not that he doesn't need to raise his hand to be recognized. But Eddie, I don't know if you remember this, but I think we first met when Jimmy McGlynn and I went down to Roosevelt Junior High School. I think that's when it was, and I think I was in college, and Eddie was probably in junior high school. And even at that time, you could see that Eddie was a special ball player. an outstanding ball player. Coach Brian Baptiste, another tremendous basketball player from University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth. Tom Tarpey and Coach Johnny Pacheco. These people were my go-to guys with respect, along with Steve Burgo. If I had a basketball question about dimensions, something specific, what should I do about the hoops, what about the colors, this, that, and the other, they were the ones who advised me. So they played a great deal in the way these courts look and are architected. So thank you so much, coaches. It's a real pleasure working with you guys. Jennifer, other stakeholders, people who initially came to one of our community meetings, and these were representatives of the basketball community and the basketball, the coaches, the basketball players themselves, and they gave us guidance initially as to what we should be doing and what needed to be achieved to make this a success. So that was Jennifer DeBarros, director of Third Eye, Rob Mendes, director of the Boys Club, Tion Pina, a former All-Star, New Bedford High School Hall of Fame, and my good friend and another tennis partner. People may ask me, what do you do? Just play tennis all the time? No. Gene Montero. Gene, are you here today? All right. These stakeholders were a great help. And finally, I just want to acknowledge my colleagues on the Friends of Buttonwood Park. First off, auxiliaries of the Friends, Ann Whiting. Ann, could you raise your hand? Jan Baptiste, Professor Jan Baptiste, and Carol Mendonca. These were people who did a great deal to help us in our fundraising efforts. Also, let me mention Marie Fontaine. Marie, if you can raise your hand. Marie did a tremendous to make this project a success. We can't thank you enough, Marie. Thank you so much. Jerry Kavanaugh, when he came into the program, he just made a huge difference. Thank you so much, Jerry. Just very quickly, this is the last group.
Promise?
I promise. First, our president, Ann Eads. She's the captain of the ship. We had innumerable meetings to make this thing happen. I had to contact innumerable people, just do a million things. We had to have the whole Friends coordinated to make this happen. And Ann Eads is our president. It's a title, justly earned, and she deserves as much credit as anyone for the success of this project. Thank you so much, Ann. Jean Bennett is a force of nature, and I think if you want something to happen, if you want to accomplish something, the two people you should definitely have on your team is Ron LaBelle and Jean Bennett. For example, if you wanted to defeat ISIS, they should contact Ron LaBelle and Jean Bennett. When we walked into Ron LaBelle's office, had our meetings with him, at one point he said, this can happen, and it will happen. And at that point, it was Jean Bennett said, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. And that's why we're here today. Our treasurer, Laura McLeod, the money angle was extremely important, and she did this in her usual, most able fashion. Lydia King, who handled a great many things, her publicity, public relations. Ray Castino. Lydia, could you raise your hand, please? Ray Castino, another member of our board who did a great deal in our planning sessions. Lou Garibaldi, Sharon Pino, Susan Barnett, Andrea Harrison, Thelma Baxter, James Beauregard, Susan Grace, Diane Logan, Florence Novick, Lorraine Perry, last but not least, Cecilia Porche and Daniel Calloway. Sorry to take so much time, but I wanted to recognize all of those people because all of them, we couldn't have done it without any of them. So thank you so much.
You're going to hand me those.
Oh.
Yeah.
And now let me introduce our mayor again, and he will perform the ribbon cutting ceremony.
Wow, with the machete. So Richard, when I got done talking, I was worried that I left a couple of people out, but I'm not worried about that anymore. Great job, Richard. Listen, I'm going to hand Richard the machete to do the official cutting. Go ahead, come on.
the good goes at goodgoes.org.
Mom?
Yes?
I've been thinking about it, and I'm not gonna go to college.
What are you saying? You've got to go to college.
Well, they offered me a job, and I want to buy some new stuff, like a new phone, a car.
Son, college is much more important than a new car.
No, Mom, it isn't.
Yes, son, it is.
No.
Yes.
No, Mom. Anyways, it's my decision.
Your decision. Okay, well then decide what degree you're going to get because you will go to college.
Their tomorrow depends on your words today. The Hispanic Scholarship Fund has the information you need to help your kids go to college and have a better future.
Welcome to my block party. Glad you can make it.
I can do this all day. Your moves are just gay.
Using gay to mean dumb or stupid, not cool.
Not in my house, not anywhere.
It's not creative, it's offensive to gay people. And you're better than that.